got to be honest, Dan, I think that's one of the key things. It's one of the things I always look for personally when I've always come on here.
Having an area of water.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's pressured, you know, there's quite a lot of swims on here, but there's probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 of them that are really key swims in terms of what water they command and the spots that they command. And I think, you know, I just think it's really important to think about that. You know, there's no point necessarily hemming yourself in a corner, even if there's a few fish there, if it's likely to get busy in the next couple of days. If you turn up on a Friday, because they'll push out into some of the other areas, and if you've only got a little corridor to fish in, you're always going to struggle, really.
Bit similar to when we're fishing the matches, we often pick swims that command more water. They may not be full of fish at the time you get there, but you've got more options in front of you.
And I think one of the other things with this lake as well is you've got a few key features out there.
Right. So what are you looking for then?
Well, I mean, that's the first thing. I mean, I'm always looking for the fish, basically. Something I always do is I'll always met check before I come. I'll get the forecast for the time while I'm going to be there. I'll have kept track of it for the couple of days previous as well. So I've set the weather in context.
So wind direction, how warm it's going to be,
so
all that sort of thing.
If there's been a big southerly for 3 or 4 days and it's old and stale, I won't necessarily be quite as interested, you know, about sort of being right on the end of it as I would be if there was a new one forecast, that kind of thing, you know. So I take a lot of notice of the weather. And, you know, say there's a southerly forecast in the next couple of days and a swim on the end of it is empty, you know, there might not be any fish there then, but, you know, I might take a chance.
You will take that gamble?
Yeah, I will take that gamble, if I've got that time to play with and the weather is going to come in, you know, in my stay.
So what have you got out in front of here? What are the interesting features in this swim?
Thing with Sandhurst, basically, the whole thing is relatively shallow. You know, it ranges from about 4 to about 6. That's the average, basically, for probably, I don't know, 90% of the lake. And then you've got out here in front of the pipes, in front of the car park, you've got a couple of slightly deeper silty gullies. Drops down to about 8 or 9 foot. And you've got silt. That's the other thing as well. The vast majority of the lake bed is gravel. And it's relatively clear, little bits of silkweed and things like that, but not a lot. So in front of here, you've got a couple of really nice, deeper silty areas. And up in front of the bailiffs as well, you've got a channel that cuts into that causeway bank that drops down to about 9 or 10, I think, I believe, as well. You know, and at certain times of the year, there's no doubt that those deeper areas...
So what are the times? If people are going to come here, what are the times to target the deep water?
I personally, I would say the winter, generally. Yeah, they tend to be the areas that they hold in, particularly out there and here as well. You can hit those areas from a couple of different swims. You know, you can reach it from peg 9 and 10 opposite. You can reach them from the car park. You can reach it from here and next door. You know, and you've got the bailiff swims, you know, that can reach that one. But, you know, I mean, it all depends on the weather. You know, I mean, this is a prime example. It looks perfect for here and for this area, you know, and on paper, you know, it's
run for this swim, wouldn't you,
today? Oh, it's textbook. I was rubbing my hands together. However, the fish have quite clearly backed off it. You know, this wind hadn't kicked in when I got here. I caught those 3 on the first morning. Pretty much before this wind had kicked in, and we were seeing them, and it looked really good. As soon as this wind's kicked in, they've definitely backed off it.
Which is the complete opposite of what you'd expect, isn't it?
It is really.
You'd think you'd be seeing them where the seagulls are, 40 yards out, sticking their heads out, wouldn't you? But
I don't know if it's because it's relatively shallow, this place, and it's still fairly early in the year. You know,
early,
it's only March still. So you know, I think even though it feels mild, I think because it's shallow, I think they've just backed off it for whatever reason. They just feel slightly comfier, you know, and. That's the thing with fishing, you know, you know, you have to be a bit adaptable and, you know, be prepared to move, and that I think.
So would you, having now had 4 bites, is it?
Yeah.
Would you move now?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely.
You would?
I'd be off.
Right, okay.
In a shot. Yeah, straight over there on the back of the wind, I think.
Right, okay.
If it was free, you know, and, you know, if I had a bit more time to play with. But sources for courses, you know, and I think, I mean, I have caught one this morning. Off that deeper area, so there's obviously fish there. I'm quite confident that there's probably another bite or 2, hopefully, to be had. So, yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right, well, words of wisdom, mate. So basically, check out the weather. Look for the deeper spots in the winter on here, and don't be afraid to move. That's probably the most important one of all. If you see them elsewhere,
and if you can, choose yourself a swim that commands a nice bit of water. Definitely.
Well, pearls of wisdom there from Mr. Fareham. Choose the deeper spots in the winter, get a swim that commands loads of water, and don't be afraid to move. Well, I've wound in basically because they like a fresh stick on here. They like a little bit of fresh smell around the hook bait. So I'm going to cast 2 rods back out again with fresh sticks on. But before I do, I just want to talk you through the little bit of magic I've got here. This is what I use on this particular venue. Fished here last winter quite a few times, and this was extremely successful for me. It's what I caught the fish on down in the bailiff swim, and it's what I'm persevering with. So talking from the hook bait down, that's one of Gaz's little squid octopus and fruity pop-ups, just cut in half there and then halved with a bottom bait. That's a mix that sort of blends 2 different types of boilie together that I'm using at the moment. Not much smell to it, but a very effective boilie. And then going down onto the hook itself, it's a wide gape hook, size 6, very fine wire, very, very sharp. And I've got a rig ring on there, basically so the hair exits the hook roughly opposite the barb of the hook, and that helps it turn over and catch hold really aggressively in the fish's mouth. And then moving down further still, I've got a piece of small shrink tube there. That does the same thing. It just, when everything's tightened up, it helps that hook turn over, catching the fish's bottom lip, and you're away. And then a coated hook link, and you see there a very short hook link, much shorter than most people would use on this sort of venue. And for me, that's the key. The bottom's very hard out there. Even when I'm fishing in the silt, I'm still getting a fairly firm thud as the lead hits the bottom. So it's not burying in a long way, so I can get away with a short hook link. And that means the fish has got less movement before it starts to feel the weight of the lead. So I've got a little bit stripped back, you see up the top there, by the hook. That just helps the hook lift up, turn and catch hold. And then I've got that stiffer section, coated section there, that just pushes everything away from the lead so it comes to rest all nice and straight. And then on the end, and this is one of the keys to the rig, we've got no swivel there at all. So I've got a quick link on the end of a fused leader, and then a little link loop there, like a little metal loop on the end of the hook link attached to that quick link. So to take the hook link on and off literally just takes a second, boom, and it's off. Just repeat the process, obviously, once I've put my stick on, and then the hook link is on. So a very quick change system. And then I've got a leg clip, a new style of leg clip. You see it's got 2 holes in it. Basically, it can either be fish running, how I'm doing it, so it pulls in to about that amount. When the fish picks up the bait, shakes its head, it immediately pulls away, and then the lead is sliding away from the fish. And I think that's really important on these particular venues. If you can do something like that the fish are not used to, then I think you get more bites. If it was weedy, what I'd then do is put a little tiny plastic peg into that leg clip. It would stop the quick link pulling out the front, and then what would happen as the fish charged through the weed, the lead, if I can hold that tight, would pull off like that. And you see on the back of the leg clip there, there's no serrations or anything to hold that rubber connector on, so the lead's going to come off very easily. If I don't use the peg, it won't come off at all. It'll just pull out and slide up and down the line. So if it is weedy, basically you just adjust the system around, use the peg in the hole, and you will be dumping the lead. And the second hole is basically, if we're going to use a normal swivel, that's a little bit longer than one of those quick links, so it goes in a little bit further. So the second hole is if you're using a swivel, the first hole is if you're using a quick link. And I've got a 3-ounce distance lead on there that I'm punching out about 90 yards, and whether it's a hard bottom or a soft bottom, that's going to sit lovely. And if we move just further up the leader, I've got a bead on there, basically, just to slow that down. It will act as a backstop as well, but on the take, what will happen, if I don't have that bead there, it will slide off the end of the leader on the take, and then when I'm playing the fish, it will come back down and sit on the top of the leader, and it will seem really weird. That will pull off that bead. It's made of rubber, so it will push off the end. If the fish is dragging it any distance, it will get away from the lead, but it's basically just to slow the lead down on the take. So that is the rig. I'm going to show you my all-important stick mix now, and then get these back out on the spot, and hopefully, now the weather's improved, get a bite this afternoon.